Okay, looking back at our SFC, where do we need to go from here? Well, I'm not actually worried about populating all the actions for all these different modes just yet, because I would rather show you that we're about to have a nasty limitation here. Whenever we go from stop into standby, we're good. The only place we want to go after we're in stop mode is into standby. We never want to go directly from stop into a low condition or from stop into a drain condition. We know that because we need at least 5 seconds to evaluate our level and decide exactly where we're at. So an immediate transition into one of these other stages isn't really an option. But what we do from standby is tricky, because from standby we could go to any of 5 different places really. And that already, you can see our chain just turned a lot more complex. Coming out of standby, we've got 5 different potential transitions. But then, here's the question. Once we leave the next step of each one of those, what are our options? When I leave fill mode, chances are I'm going to go straight into drain mode. And when I leave drain mode, chances are I'm going to go directly into fill mode. And I'm going to alternate back and forth between these two. Well, I can lay that logic down, and that's not unduly cumbersome. But what else is a possibility? Maybe while I'm in fill mode, somebody hits the stop button. So I actually have 2 possibilities, right? I could go into drain mode like I assume as if the machine is left running, but then I could also go into stop mode. And let's pretend that whenever we're in fill mode, for some reason we accidentally overfill the tank, then I could also go into high mode. And, now I've got 3 possibilities coming out of here. And is it also a possibility that somehow I could get to high? Yes, it is. So coming out of each one of these, it looks like I'm also going to have 4 possibilities here, 4 possibilities here, 4 possibilities, actually from low or from high, I'm going to go back into mode 1. I'm going to go back into standby. So I could transition from these back up here. Actually, I could also go to stop. So really, I've got 2 possibilities coming out of my alarms. Someone could either hit the off button or the alarm reset button, and I would either go into mode 0 or I would go into mode 1. So I have 2 possibilities coming out of here. And, then if somebody hits the system off button, I really only have 1 possibility coming back from there. So from this, I really wouldn't actually define a separate step. From this, I would draw a wire right back up to the top of here, because if somebody pushes the off button, I'm going to come back up here to stop. And for the rest of these, though, I have to draw increasingly complex chains, and this thing is going to start to become very unruly. I'm going to have wires going all over the place. I'm going to have all kinds of different, blocks which tie into everything laterally, which tie into everything above and below. You can see that trying to create this program, yes, I could create it and I could force it to work, but do you see how absolutely horrible this is going to look? Already, I don't like the way that it looks. And, for the purpose of this is to create something that's easily understood, that somebody can look at and see exactly where everything flows and where everything goes. But what we're about to create is a monstrosity. It's going to be extremely ugly, and we would rather not create that. Now, pretending that we actually wanted to create this thing and we actually really wanted it to work, we could do it a different way, but again, this one isn't going to be particularly beautiful either. So instead of this structure that we've got here, let's go ahead and delete that, and I'm going to also come over here and I want to delete just these connections. So let me see if I can just pull these apart, get those down here, and see, there we go. I want to actually break those 3 connections. Now, one thing that I could do, you see I've got 5 transitions underneath standby. Well, then under fill, I could also create the same structure. So I could go over here and I could put another divergent branch, and I could extend this out 3, 4, one more time, and then I could actually put my drain mode right up under here, and I could wire that. Actually, I don't want to extend it, I want to wire it. There we go. I could wire that here, and let's go ahead and get rid of this transition, create another branch, and I could extend this out 5 times as well. There we go. And I could keep going, and I could do the same thing, and I could put these other 2 down below. And you see each one of these has 5 possible options coming out. And when we get to the alarms, we'll only have 2 options coming out. But let's just take a look at each one of these. So I've got my transition here, and we're going to say that this one goes to fill. And then we've got this one, and let's assume this one goes to drain. Well, I need to wire that down to drain. And then we're going to say that this one goes to low, low. So I'm going to go ahead and push this. Well, that's not what I want to do. Let's hit Control Z to undo that. And there we go. Let's try to move this down. Well, I would rather not have it off screen. So let's just put it up here and wire the drain. Yeah, I keep clicking on the wrong thing, guys. There we go. Let's click the wire. We can wire that up over to here. So then this one needs to go into low, low mode. We're going to wire that one over here as well. And, we can do this. Each one of our modes is going to have one block. We're going to have one step for stop, one step for standby, fill, drain, low, low, and high, high. And we're going to have a progression to get to each one straight down this line. But then for everything sticking out the side, all of these transitions, we're also going to have lines flowing all over our screen to get us from any one mode into all of the other modes. So that's just looking at this thing with steps and transitions. What have we not filled out? We haven't filled out our actions. So also each one of these is going to have several actions coming out the side, representing the pump going on, the valve going on, alarm bits being set, different buttons being pushed at different times. This thing, any way you slice it, is going to be big and ugly. And the reason is we don't have a clear systematic progression like what you would really want. We want something that's going to have step A followed by step B followed by step C followed by either D or E, either one of which is followed by G or ends the process. We want something clear and simple that repeats and follows a pretty straight line. What we have here is a lot more organic. We can go from any place to any other place, and we have, 5 or 6 different modes. Well, this does not lend itself to sequential function chart programming. So is it possible? Yes, absolutely. We could program this whole system in this sequential function chart if we wanted to. However, do we recommend it? I would not use this for that. But let's just take a look at this in simpler terms. We're going to take a break here, but when we come back, let's try to just put a piece of the puzzle into a sequential function chart, and that way we'll actually be able to start this thing up, emulate, and see it work. So we're really trying to play out of position here with sequential function charts right now. That's just an example to show you that these things really do have some meaningful limitations when you try to create them. But in the next one, we're going to create something that actually looks good, works, makes sense, and in the following lecture, then we're going to actually emulate it and turn it on and watch it flow. So I'll see you then.